No, so these two guys actually started the Faithful Agent. And I went to their first conference back in March.
Okay.
And, it was a long story, but my first broker was actually speaking at this conference. And he called and he said, I would love for you to come hear me speak at this conference. It's called the Faithful Agent, and I think it's right up your alley. And he introduced me to the two guys that were starting it. And so I called them and I was like, yeah, I'm just calling. I've heard about your conference. I'm looking forward to it. What's it all about? And they were like, we have no idea.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. They were like, we really have no idea. They are just believers, and they're in the real estate space, and their mission is to grow your faith, grow your business.
Yeah.
And that's really all they knew. And I was like, you know what? I'll come. I'll see what we make of it. And I went to the conference, and it was two guys who they have the best hearts in the world. One of them is an ex pro baseball player. Mm-hmm. The other one is a real estate agent and does great real estate business. But as far as like the mission and the conference, it was like two guys, two dudes. And so I walked in and it was like they rented a conference room and they called it a conference and that was it. And so I was like, me, like I'm at conferences every week.
Yeah.
And I was like taking gas. I'm like, oh my gosh, the content's great. The mission's great. They were like, we could use your help
Yeah.
with making it a bigger. So anyway, so we're launching it and it's become a passion project of mine. And
Has this been a trend for you where you somehow end up in spaces and then by inserting you like make magic happen, it becomes big? And I only say this because I know the Dwellas team was great and amazing before Janet came into the picture. But I feel like since you came in the picture, at least how it's been perceived by me, is once you kind of came into the picture, it just kind of took on a whole new level.
that is so interesting because I've always been in the picture. Like
Have
Ryan
you?
and I started Dwellas
Oh
together.
my gosh, so I totally missed the mark on that one.
No, but that's
But I've only
really the
seen Ryan.
perception.
I've always only seen Ryan.
Yeah, that's really, and
So maybe it's when you finally got into the...
right. Well, and I think it's interesting. Well, I've had a lot of different roles, right? And so we started Dwellas and, started the team, and we both had a goal of getting out of production. He had a goal for getting out of production because he wanted to spend every weekend and every night doing baseball with his boys and every single activity. And at the time, I very abruptly became a single mom of 4 kids. And so I couldn't work every night and every weekend. And so we were like, we've got to do something. We've got to figure out leverage. We've got, we didn't have a plan B for selling real estate. So it was like, we've got to do a team. And so we did that. We backed ourselves out of, servicing clients every weekend and every night by building the team. But then I found my passion was coaching and training the agents behind the scenes. And then I got the opportunity to be a team leader for a Keller Williams franchise, which really stepped me further out from the team for 5 years. And so he was just full on running the team for all of those years. And I was still filling the pipeline and having my deals serviced by the team and sort of checking in. But I was really hands off. And then when we made the move to our new brokerage, it kind of combined both of my worlds in that I've only ever done 2 things or 3 things, I guess: sell real estate, build a team to sell real estate, and grow great brokerages. And so that combined my roles. And I feel like that's what now everybody's seeing is Ryan and I are back to teaming up, because when we grew the team, there was really no branding, social media, really.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like that's what
I think
everybody's
that's what
seeing
it
right
is
now.
now that you're in like the
Yeah.
forefront of the business, the branding, the
Yeah.
videos, the
And I'm all in
photos.
on it.
You are.
You
'Cause
can
give
tell.
a whole bunch, but you give a different, no shade to Ryan. Ryan knows that I love him. But you give a different dimension to the team and the overall feeling of not just Dwellas, but you represent real as well. Like, so that's cool.
Yeah.
What have you learned from all of this, like by being on the front? Because you weren't always the front person in front of the camera.
Yeah. You know, just I guess because of the way that it unfolded and the direction that I went with like a Keller Williams corporate role and all of that, like I was kind of in front of a different camera maybe, right? And I don't know, I think we now are in the roles that we both shine in,
Yeah.
right? Like he is in the creative, he's a visionary, and I'm a visionary too, but you know, my number one thing is like I'm an includer, right? And so I like to gather people and I like to rally people for a cause that I'm passionate about. So we're both really in the right seats right now. So I think it's really cool.
I
Yeah.
love that. And how has you gave us just a little synopsis of it, but how has your career progressed over the years with your family, being a mom of 4 kids?
Yeah. Well, that was it, right? I mean, it's real estate's the only thing I've ever done. So I got my license like 18 months out of college and got married, had babies, got divorced, like I went through all of the things in the real estate industry. And backing out of the day to day, I would say grind. I'm still grinding, but it's a different way, right? Like, so I'm filling the pipeline, marketing and branding of the team, and behind the scenes, really focusing on client services, systems, processes to make sure that every single client has a real estate experience that they can't imagine being any better. That's what I say. Like, that's what I want every client to have. And that has allowed me to kind of step out, and it's hard. I mean, you know, you talk to agents every day and it's hard to be a great agent and a great parent
Yeah.
because it's nights, it's weekends, it's around the clock, it's 10:30 at night sometimes, it's, you know, and it's just allowed me to really focus on my strengths and what I do really well and do it on my time in a way that I want to do it. So it's been really good for my family, I feel like the last 5 years.
Because you've really found your sweet spot.
Yeah.
Right. And knowing, like, because I think a lot of agents, they don't know when it's time for them to step into either building a team or, you know, because I talk to a lot of agents and they're like, I just love getting in front of clients. I just love actually like meeting with families and going through all of that. But then they'll very quickly admit that it means it's time away from their own family,
Right.
and it's away from their own parts of goals of how they want to actually live their like life, like having a lifestyle that they actually.
Well, and I think a lot of agents build a team for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Like you just want to build a team because it seems like that's what you should do. And, you know, you've got all this production. But for me, it was really, it started off as a necessity for leverage. Like I could no longer work 80 hours a week and I couldn't take a pay cut.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think you should start a team for leverage. But then for me, it transitioned to when I started bringing agents in and sitting down with them and coaching and training with them, it was like watching this light bulb go off for them that took me 15 years to learn on my own.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just kind of speeding up their process and then watching them fulfill the dreams for their families and growing great businesses and all of that. And so that's really my.
Would you say that's like your strong suit within the team is the recruiting process of talking and connecting with them and kind of showing them the things that maybe they haven't seen quite yet? And if so, what are some of the things that you guys talk about that maybe they didn't understand or realize?
Yeah, that's definitely my role. Coaching and training has just been my passion. I'm in the process now, and of course, you said I have a million things going on.
Good though, it's good.
It is all
Because
good.
if you don't, then you start to stagnate and you don't like keep developing
Yeah,
yourself. So
it is all good. But it's a lot. So one of the things is, you know, really scaling the coaching that I do into a business, right? Because I've just done it for either agents on my team or as a team leader for the Keller Williams Market Center, I would coach those agents, right? And that's really what I love doing. And as far as what I would tell them, a lot, well, 99.9% of it is mindset. And I know that's a buzzword. I know everybody says it, but it really is. It's really kind of teaching them to get out of their own way, because selling real estate isn't hard. And I probably shouldn't say that on camera for people to listen to, but it's, writing the contracts, learning that part of the business isn't hard. It's filling the pipeline and getting out there to talk to people. And so whenever I hear agents come into the business because they like looking at houses, I'm like, I mean, that's like
A
a
drop
second
in
of it.
that,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? It's so much more than that. And so guiding them through that process, especially right now,
Yeah.
because the market is, a lot of people are hurting. And my mission right now is really more of getting agents to the other side of that.
What's some advice or tips or strategies that, like one or two, that you would give to somebody who's in that on that struggle bus right now?
Um, that's funny. I just talked about this yesterday. I mean, I think that it's really time for agents to, it's a wake up call, and they've got to get back to work. Like,
What do you mean get back to work, Janet? Haven't they been at work for the past three,
right?
4 years?
Just, yeah, business running us over because we woke up in the morning and, I mean, it's really, this market is really exposing our weaknesses and our lack of skill and our lack of processes. And, I think right now agents have to go, if it's not your full-time dedicated thing, you're going to have a really hard time. And we're going to see a lot of those agents go away. And even the good agents right now, if they really want to come out on the other side of this and dominate during this challenging time, they've got to go from like good to great. And that means learning scripts, dialogues, how to talk to clients about what's going on right now, because it's really confusing. And so good agents understand the market, great agents can explain the market. And so I just feel like we've got to step up and hone in on skills and how to really help people right now.
What are some good resources for people who want to follow that advice and start diving in?
For me, it's, you've got to find people that will pour into you, right? Like, I mean, if you want to do what great agents are doing, you have to go be with great agents that are willing to pour into you, right? So it's like who you surround yourself with matters. And, I constantly put on trainings and events, and, I will pour into anyone regardless of what brokerage they're at.
I have seen that. I've seen that you really work with, even if they're not in your on your team or your brokerage, you've
Yeah.
really helped.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it truly is a passion of mine, and I am constantly, I'll say, accused of just doing all of these things to recruit people to our brokerage. And I could care less where you work at the end of the day. Would I love for you to join brokerage, join Real if you're a good fit? Absolutely. Like, if it's actually the right decision for you and you're a good fit for us, 100% I would love for you to join Real. But I'm just trying to make everybody better agents right now, right? Because even if you're on the other side of a transaction at a different brokerage, you're better to work with if you're a trained agent.
yeah, yeah, it's funny. You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't.
100%. I'm like, I really don't care where you work. I don't
Yeah.
care where your license is.
Well,
If you're a good person, let's collaborate. Let's grow together.
yeah.
If you want to join Real, awesome. If not,
Awesome.
high five.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't
Now,
matter.
have you officially launched your? I don't know if you actually are doing this. I'm making this up. Are you going to launch some type of training, like your own brand of training or coaching?
I'm in several talks
Okay, so possibly.
with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So then it's like, that could be an easier way to be like, whether you join it or not, doesn't matter. Like, you can still get more one-on-one
Right. Right.
training from me.
Yeah.
Where do you learn from? Like, who pours into Janet?
I have a ton. I am blessed. I have a ton of people that pour into me right now. And right now it's my brokerage. You know, I've only been with two other brokerages, right? So I was with Long and Foster, and that's where my first mentor, who just called me last year about the Faithful Agent. I mean, he poured into me and, you know, really taught me the business, and then other agents in my office. Like my first mentor was a woman named Boofy O'Gorman. She's like a rock star out of Reston. Her, Carol Welsh, all of these agents in that office, like opened their playbooks to me, poured into me, right? And then I feel like you kind of get to a point where you've gotten all the juice out of that lemon. And it's just a business move, right? It's nothing
Yeah.
personal. It's like, oh, I love you. Thank you so much. But I wanted to do something more. Like that's when Ryan and I left Long and Foster and went to Keller Williams because we thought, okay, Keller Williams can teach us
Yeah.
leverage, teach us how to run a business like a business. And so for 10 years, it was Keller Williams. It was the leadership and the models and systems I learned from them that really was it. I attribute Keller Williams to how we built our team at the time, right? But then the market and the landscape of real estate and business building has completely changed.
Yeah.
And so how we built a business 20 years ago, how we built a business 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, isn't the same as how we can build it now. And so, you know, now I've got people that are really teaching me, like pushing me now, right?
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 24 years, so I haven't been pushed in a long time because I've
Been
gotten
there,
it.
done that. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's like I've got people pushing me to the technology's different, right? And like really servicing on a whole different level. They're pushing me with branding and video and all the stuff, which has been really fun. But
I know. I tell people, I'm like, I've been preaching this crap for like 7
you
years to
really
you,
have.
whoever it is that I'm talking to. And they're like, I know. I'm like, but you just needed your coach that you've paid thousands of dollars to say, get on video. And you're like, okay, fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, but I still have your stuff from the workshop I took. I'm like, you know what? I just want to see you succeed. So
Yeah. You
I
are a
love seeing,
trailblazer.
I love
Seriously.
seeing all these agents like creating YouTube channels,
Right.
creating Instagram where they're showing up on video.
Right.
Sorry, I had to
No,
interject
I
that.
know. It's frustrating.
But no, but it's so good to see that now. Like a lot more
Yeah.
business owners are believing in themselves enough to show up for their brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's good. In terms of like looking into the future, where do you see yourself? 5, 10 years.
5, 10 years. We had a conversation recently about, you know, I'm 48 and about the 5-year plan and retirement and what that will look like. And I honestly don't know that I will ever just get out of the business. I feel like I have so much to give to agents and so much impact there. So I feel like I will still be in the real estate business. I think it will be a lot of coaching and training in that respect. And honestly, right now, it's a lot of personal development. And that's weird. That's a weird thing to say. It's not, it's personal development, but it's really going in a personal direction for me.
What do you mean by that?
Like finding my purpose, you know? I mean, I'm
Big picture
48.
stuff.
Yeah. Like what am I actually here to do? And, you know, for me, it's a big part of that is my faith, and my family and the legacy that I'm going to leave. And so for me, it's been showing the behind the curtain because everybody has this, I'm going to go off on a whole other tangent.
I'm here for it.
But
No, I'm here for it.
But when you ask, like, what do I see myself? Where do I see myself in 5 years? You know, right now, like, I'm in talks about what coaching could actually look like if we were to follow a business model. But we're talking about podcasts, and I'm writing a book, and
What is the book about? Sorry.
so the book it's a little bit of a behind the curtain. So especially because everybody's in this video branding, their representative on social media, it's really causing a lot of like mental illness. I mean, it's causing a lot of people to cringe, and it's like stealing people's joy. Like the thief of joy is comparison, right? And
I was
so
going to say, why do you think that's happening? You think
because
it's
everybody's
comparison?
showing their highlight reel,
Yeah.
including me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Outside of social media, are you talking about just video in specific or just,
no, I think video and social media has brought it to the forefront and it's highlighted it, but we all do it. You've always met my representative. Like
yeah.
you've always seen Janet, is top 1% in real estate when she got in the career, knocked it out of the park. You've always seen Janet did a team. I was this, I was that. I was a good mom. You always see my representative. And social media has just exacerbated that. And so I feel like there has to be a behind the curtain to that. And so I've recently been sharing just my story of all of the adversity and trauma and all of the stuff that's happened behind the scenes that people don't see. And I'm doing it so that I can feel more authentic to myself, because we always talk about the imposter syndrome and all of that. And I've had it for years and years and years, and I have struggled with it. And I'm now at the point where I want people to see all of the stuff that was happening behind the scenes to give them hope that they can overcome it.
It's okay if you're in this phase of your life, because Janet was there at one point as well. Like,
Yeah.
just because you see me at phase 10 doesn't mean I wasn't at like phase 2 and
Right.
struggling. Yeah.
They say, like, the person you can help the most is the person you used to be.
Yeah.
And I really just want to be an open book and sharing that and be authentic to who that really was and who that really is.
Do you think sometimes by sharing the trials, tribulations, challenges, do you think it could give growth to more people wanting to create that story so that they can fall into that camp of like, I was poor living on the streets and now look at me? Or do you think that has nothing to do with it? It's just like you're just authentically. Here's the reason why I ask. Because I've seen people jump into certain narratives because they want to me too it, right? Not specifically talking about that movement, but just any type of like,
Yeah,
I
I
too
think I'm
was
picking
here. But it's kind of like, I know you and I know your background, and there's no like comparison to what this person is sharing. But then it almost creates like a fake narrative in order to look more authentic. Sorry, that's kind of an off the wall question here, but what are your
No,
thoughts
yeah.
around that?
I do get it. And that is a really weird and tough question, right? Because like people will sniff that out.
Yeah.
You can't just and it's interesting because I had a conversation with one of my really good friends who's one of our agents, and she was actually saying, she was like, I don't feel like I have a story. She's like,
All
my
the time.
life was good. Like, I don't know. She's like, I had good parents. I have a good marriage. I've been married 23 years, done some real estate. Like, she's like, I don't have a story. And, at the time I was talking to her, I'm like, everybody has a story, like you were telling me how you almost got a divorce, like you got through that, whatever. But I think that to your point, I think that the more crap you go through, the more you have a story. So I don't
Yeah.
know the answer to that. I think for someone who has a concern about that, like, oh, am I just getting in that camp because
Let me find the cracks in my life so that I have a story that I
right,
can show that I went from here to here. I've been in workshops where they're like trying to find the
right.
adversity.
I think that's a tough question, but I think that for me, it's about me personally, like
Yeah.
checking my motives,
Yeah.
which I have to do all the time.
Yeah,
Right.
and to just kind of answering my own question, I guess that's basically what we're doing though for the highlights is we're creating and showing off and making something bigger than maybe it is so that we can kind of shine as well on social.
100%. And that actually ties directly to kind of what the purpose is for when I say like behind the curtain, because forever I would stretch. I was never okay with where I actually was. Like if I was doing 5 million, I'd say I was doing 6. Like
Yeah.
I would finagle deals to make it into the paper because I would get into the paper when I was a
Right
Long
there
and
at that
Foster
threshold,
agent.
yeah.
He would put
Yeah.
in the Rest and Connection, he would
Yeah.
put our faces if we did over 1 million.
Yeah.
So I would literally be finagling deals to close in a month.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I think that's part of it too. It's, where am I actually really, and am I okay with it?
Yeah. What have you learned? Like, what are some of your biggest learning moments? I always say learning moments meaning like, for me, my biggest learning moments are when I've like lost or like my biggest struggles, right? Because you either win or you learn. That's been my biggest learning moments. But what have been some of your biggest business learning moments?
My biggest business.
Actually, you know what? Drop the business. Just biggest learning moments. Period.
I've had a lot of them. Probably the biggest one was going through my divorce and just waking up one morning and having 4 babies from 2 to 8 and having nothing. I mean, I had a Hyundai minivan and $500,000 in tax debt to my name and having a start over. I think another learning moment for me was going through all of that and having a facade for many years around that, and then finally getting honest and, coming out and telling people that I wasn't okay. I was struggling with alcohol. I was overcoming trauma. I was going through all of these things, and I hid that for a long time.
Yeah.
But the learning in that was when I was finally able to share it and get honest with myself and honest with other people. It was like magic. It was like a growth spurt that I've never experienced, like being authentic to myself and helping people.
What do you mean by helping people?
Like the more that I have told my story, the more that I have shared the behind the curtain. I mean, I get emails and I get texts and, messages and all the stuff. Janet, thank you so much. Like, I'm going through XYZ. I've experienced what you've experienced, and I'm looking at you and you give me hope. And it's the ripple effect of that, of just being honest and being authentic to who I really am and what I've actually gone through and all of that. It's helping people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Feels good too, right? To like live authentically.
Oh my gosh. It's like a peace that I've not had my whole life. It's a peace that you just go, oh my gosh. Like, it absolutely is.
Especially in the area that we live in. Because there is a facade, an image, there's a
Don't get me
expectation of,
I have been an agent in Northern Virginia for 24 years, and I hate Northern Virginia. Absolutely hate it. Really do.
What do you mean?
Because of especially the area where everybody's got the great cars and the bags and my kids have asked me throughout their whole life, like, why are you raising us here? And I'm like, I don't know.
Because they don't want to be here?
Well, because I'll say, Sally just got a Range Rover for her 16th birthday. And I'm like, good for Sally.
Yeah.
Like.
Her mom's going to cry real big when she dents it in the parking lot.
Well, and my kids have totaled 2 cars in the last 3 years. So
that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But, and they're like, oh, yeah. I want, for Christmas, I want a $1,200 bag. And I'm like, who are you? Yeah. And rightfully so, they've turned around. They're like, you're the one raising us in, the richest county in America.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, I mean, they're not wrong.
Yeah.
But it's where I grew my business and all of that. And so I think that this is a terrible interview. This is terrible. Everything I just said, I'm like, oh my gosh. But it's true. I feel like everybody here needs a wake-up call.
Yeah.
I don't care about your Range Rover. I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I care about, your children's heart and what good are they going to do? What good are you going to do?
Yeah. That's part of being authentic, though, is like when you share the truth versus what people want to hear. Because you're an agent in Northern Virginia, and you just
And I swear, I think it's too, like, it's me getting old. I'm turning into my mom. You know those old people that they don't
They just say
care.
whatever.
They don't care.
and people just take it with a grain of salt.
I'm turning into that, like before my very eyes. It's unbelievable.
But I think that's great because I know I hear a lot of agents that are like, "This is the best place for this, this, and this," and I do agree. We've got a great education system. We've got people have amazing hearts out here. Like people care, right?
Not everybody sucks.
Right?
Not everybody, but a lot of people do.
But we have all of that here. But then to also be able to admit to like, but we also have our challenges and our problems that we've got to deal with and face and figure out a solution to. And part of that is a little bit of entitlement, expectations of what is a middle class family out here has a McMansion, But that's not the reality of most Americans, and it sets up our children to expect something that's just not. It's almost next to impossible to maintain.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I don't know what I did.
In terms of like looking out to, like if you were giving a message to the world, just to kind of wrap things up, if you were giving a message to the world, what would that message be? And it can be about anything that's on your heart.
If I was giving a message to the world, for where I am right now, I have to answer that question is to get honest with yourself and be where you actually are and be authentic to who you are. Like, that's really where I am. I mean, to your point of talking about everyone comparing themselves and keeping up with the Joneses in our area and all of that stuff, like, it's just so freeing to really figure out what matters and what's important and getting honest with yourself and everyone else and being okay with who you are.
Real quick follow-up question. How do you get honest with yourself?
I mean, stop pretending. I mean, if you're struggling, say you're struggling. If you're not understanding something, I mean, you're going to think I'm crazy. I mean, maybe it really is. Like, I just would never say, I don't know, even in the small things, My advice early on when I was in this business to newer agents coming in was like, fake it till you make it. Pretend they don't know the difference. And I'm like, that was crazy advice. Like, it's okay not to know, So it's as simple as being honest about simple things. But I think for me, it's being honest about the bigger things, right? Like, when it's hard, it's more important to be honest when it's hard than ever before. And I think right now a lot of people are struggling. I think COVID really hurt a lot of people. And I think the more that you're able to talk about it and deal with it, the better you're going to be. Like, if I had to give a message to the world.
Love it. Thank you so much for being on the podcast and being authentically you.
Thank you.